if you're working in a business as a marketing director, you should not be doing social media.
I'm here with Jamie to talk about all things social media. So, Jamie, why does organic social media need to be authentic, would you say?
I think it's really important because authenticity builds trust. And if you haven't got that in your content, then who's going to buy from you at the end of the day? The best way for people to be authentic is to have people in their content. I think, if you're getting people from across your business, not just the leadership team, but also people that are working on the ground, using those people in your content is really going to help you.
People buy from people, right?
Well, yeah, that's it. We work with a load of different industries at Marketing Elect, and the one thing we always find with the content and the content that performs best is when there's people in it. Especially with video content, you're seeing people talking about their service. It makes it feel more real, which I think is a really important factor. However, your content needs to reflect your brand values at the end of the day. If you've got all these people saying all these amazing things about your brand or saying that you're sustainable, but you're actually not, social media can be quite brutal, especially if you're a business. So I think if you're not actually doing what you're saying you're doing and people find out about that,
they'll call you out.
They'll call you out.
Especially with like the greenwashing and stuff when you're talking about sustainability. Like that's such a big thing at the moment. I think businesses really need to make sure that if they're going to commit to something, that they commit to it.
Yeah, especially if you've got people in your business saying that puts a target on them. So you don't really want that.
So what would you say are 3 ways that businesses could be authentic on their social media?
Well, I think you've got to reflect your brand values as one. Whatever you say you do, you should do it, and you should demonstrate that. So if you say you're a green company, you're a sustainable company, well, you should be creating content that is centered around that. I think secondly, you should be including all the people that make your business what it is in your content, and that's not just the management team. You should be including everyone else that works on the ground, because most of the time, especially for bigger businesses, they're the ones that know the most about the business, and they're the ones that are interacting with the customers. So you should be using that in your content. And thirdly, I think you've got to engage with your audience, because at the end of the day, they're the ones using your product and service, and they'll have feedback, and that can help make your product better. It creates great content. For example, we used X idea from one of our customers and we turned it into part of the product. That kind of stuff always does really well because people really see the value in that, and they think they're part of the journey with you. It's not just a transactional one-to-one, we bought the product, that sort of it. So I think it's really important.
So we know businesses, whether they sell product or service, paid advertising is a really good option for them. Paid socials, whether that's Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. But how does organic social media supplement that paid approach?
I think where people go wrong is they go straight in with organic social and think it's going to provide them with leads instantly, sales directly. But I think you need to be using both, because the paid angle is the more lead generation, and you should be using organic social for brand awareness. Everything you do on organic social should be one of 3 things. It should be to educate your audience, inform your audience, or entertain your audience. If you're not doing those 3 things, then you're kind of wasting your time. I think I see a lot of businesses are wasting their time with organic social, just constantly posting out offers and ads, which works if you're supplementing it with paid, because you're boosting the amount of people that are going to see it. So I think the stat is about 7% of your following actually see your organic social post, which is nothing really, is it?
People don't realise that either.
No. So it's pretty simple. If you've got an audience of 1,000, only 70 people are seeing that. And you think of out of your followers, how many of those followers are actually customers? Especially if you've got a lot of family and friends. When you first started out your business that are following you, they've probably already got your product or service, or they don't need it. They're just there to follow the journey along.
Because repurposing as well, because under 7% of people see it on social, repurposing your content is key. I think a lot of businesses generally think that they've posted something, they can never post that again, they've ticked that box. And it's like, if that's such a low percentage of seeing that, you can really repurpose, find what works, measure it, get it to align with your paid advertising, definitely on brand. That's so important, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, 100%. Because you don't want to just keep posting the same thing over and over again. When we say repurpose, we don't mean that. We mean it in a way of, using what you've already got and turning it into something different. Great example of that is with our client Embassy. You know, they're a construction client. We go out on site for a day, we capture loads of content, and we use it all in completely different ways every time. Whether that's taking stills from the videos and using those, or chopping up an interview in a completely different way, and then you can see what works better. And sometimes the original idea doesn't work as well as the others, but then you know for next time that that's what you should be focusing on.
So why would you say social media is crucial for a new startup business?
I think social media is like the new Yellow Pages in a way. I think people are always asking for recommendations, and you know, you might get tagged in something for someone that's already used your service. So you need to be able to respond to that. So I think social media is really important there. I think what a lot of businesses do on social media is they run before they can walk. They're on every single channel. They really need to be focusing on 2 or 3 at most. Get those absolutely nailed before you start scaling up.
Identify where their audiences are, right? And if they're on those channels,
There's no point posting on Facebook if your audience isn't on Facebook. There's no point posting on LinkedIn just for the sake of it. It's good to have some sort of presence on these places because people will search for you. Like, for example, if you don't want to use Twitter, it's also good to have a Twitter account and just say, this account is monitored in DMs, send us a DM, because then all you need to do is monitor the DMs. When you're a smaller business, you might not have the people power to be able to monitor every single thing all the time. But you could be missing out on people that, you know, they're interested in your product or service, or they've used your product and service. I mean, X is / Twitter is a place where people go to moan a lot of the time. And if your product's not working properly and they tag you in, even if you're not actively posting on there, like, for example, I think broadband providers like Virgin Media, they have their own help center on Twitter, and they just have people answering the questions all the time and trying to help people. They are fighting a bit of a losing battle, I think, sometimes. And if you're a small business, I think you could learn a bit from that. You don't have to be on it all the time, but it's always good to have a presence there. I do think you should be focusing on 2 or 3 platforms before you start running down the road of doing every single one.
What would you say is a channel that a lot of businesses miss when it comes to social?
I think one of the things that a lot of businesses miss a trick with for any stage of business really is Google My Business. You know, this is for people that are directly searching for your business, so they know you exist. And the first thing that comes up is should be your website. And if it isn't, the second thing should be your Google My Business. And if you haven't got a Google My Business, you're kind of losing the trust factor, I think, a little bit.
It's like a preview, isn't it, almost? Like, you've got your website, you've got your reviews that show. People can find you through, it's SEO based. So a lot of people that are saying plumbers near me, for instance, if you've not listed your location on Google My Business, can't find you. Yeah,
you're losing out on that traffic. And I think it's important that you should be getting reviews on there as well, because most of the time it's the first thing that people see when they search for your business. And if you haven't got any reviews, that's an instant red flag. If you haven't got any good reviews, mostly bad, that's a red flag. If you've got 2 or 3 reviews, that's also a red flag, because people might see it as, oh, you've just got your friends to do it and you've just started up. So I think that is a strategy that I think a lot of businesses forget, is reviews. And the best place to get them is Google. And then you can use that on other social platforms as content as well. And yeah, you can also use it as a social channel. You can post on there. So you can have a little post just updating people with what's going on in your business. It doesn't have to be as intense as normal social media, maybe once or twice a week, but just showing that your company is active and things are happening is always good.
Normally like company updates or promotions and discounts and stuff like that.
Yeah, you can have a link. Everyone kind of has a call to action, so you can link them to call to you or go to your website or learn more. So yeah.
What advice would you give for businesses that have some social presence? You know, they've done a little bit of marketing in the past, but not too much. They're established and, you know, they just want to scale. They want to increase their turnover year on year. What advice would you give to them?
I think if anyone's going to take anything away from this, I think video content always wins no matter what. On most, if not all, social platforms now, they're pushing video because for the platforms themselves, people are spending more time on there, which means they can get more money from their advertisers. So you should be creating video content, and the video content shouldn't be sales focused. It should be to educate, to inform, or to entertain your audience. And a mixture of the three is probably the best way to do it. For example, on TikTok, if you're constantly trying to sell your service, it's probably not going to work.
I think a lot of businesses are scared as well to be too bold, but I think that's so needed now. If you're looking to scale, if you're looking to grow your business, you sort of need to jump on the trends. You need to start being a bit more controversial and polarizing with your opinions, don't you?
Otherwise, you're just going to get lost. Everyone's doing it. You need to be unique. You need to stir up a bit of controversy. Sometimes it can be good. The saying, all publicity is good publicity, I don't quite agree with that, especially when it comes to social media. I don't think it really runs anymore, because if the audience fall out of love with you and your brand, it's going to be very hard to come back from that.
They can't just produce the same content that you're seeing copy and paste on all of their competitors and expect to stand out.
A lot of businesses, most of the time, they look to their competitors and see what they're doing, and they think, well, we should be doing that as well. But especially in the corporate world, if you're doing the exact same thing as everybody else, you just blur into the background a bit. You need to be brave and bold and do something different. And I think a lot of businesses might be a little bit scared to do that at first. But I think once they do it, they see the results.
So what social platforms would you say businesses should be prioritising?
Well, I think that's kind of a difficult question to answer, to be honest. Every business is different and they've all got their own goals that they want to achieve. A lot of businesses that I see just go, oh, we're just going to do them all because we're going to reach the most people. You're probably not. You need to be focusing on the ones where your audiences are. If you've got an older demographic, you might be targeting on Facebook. If you've got a younger demographic, you might be targeting on Instagram. It's important to establish goals. You know, what are you trying to achieve when it comes to social media? A lot of the times businesses don't know what they're trying to achieve. They spread themselves too thin. If you're looking for an actual answer of what platforms you should probably go for, generically, I'd say B2C 100% should be focusing on TikTok at the moment. People were saying, you know, it's for the younger generation, but who's going to be buying your product in 5-10 years time? It's going to be Gen Z and Gen Alpha. So if you're there already, you're advertising to them, it's a good thing. And then as for B2B, it's largely dependent on the industry that you're in. Because it depends where your target audience is going to be at the end of the day. There's no point running down a rabbit hole down LinkedIn if your audience isn't going to be there. So I think the last point I'd like to make on this, I think, is no matter what platform you do prioritize, you need to look at what content actually performs well on there. For a lot of cases, it's going to be video because they're pushing for video most of the time. But for example, on LinkedIn, carousels have kind of been forgotten a bit. The people that do it well do really well, and the people who do it badly don't do so well. So I think thinking about your content that you're going to put out there, making sure it's actually worth reading/watching, I think that's really important. Going back to what I was saying about businesses just spreading themselves too thin, I think if you haven't got the resource to do it and you're doing it in-house, you know, one person can't do everything. The social media person out of business most of the time ends up doing stuff that isn't social media. I think if you've got one person in your business who's doing it all, they're just not going to be able to do it. You need to start bringing in outsourced people, working with agencies or working with people that you trust. Because at the end of the day, whoever you bring in, they should be working with you, not against you. If you're an internal person, you know, there is the threat. You might feel threatened if an agency's coming on board, but you have to think they're here to try and help you. They're here to try and alleviate your time so that you can work on the bigger picture stuff, working within the company on the goals and targets that you want from your marketing. If you're working in a business as a marketing director, you should not be doing social media. You should not be doing the posting. You should not be sending out the emails. You should be working on the strategy.
So tell us a bit about a project that you've recently worked on.
Oh, which one to choose? I think I'll talk a bit about the Summer of Sport campaign that we've just done for Essex Leisure. It's literally just finished. So to give a bit of context, we had a meeting with Essex Leisure and they wanted to boost some of their sales going into the summer. So we worked with them to identify what products that they have would sell best in summer. So we identified that TVs sell really well, especially with the sport. I'll come to that in a second. Ice machines, obviously, you're going to want ice in your drink if you're a pub. Auxiliary other barware. They're probably going to be using more glasses than they did before, so they're going to need glass washers and that kind of thing. So we kind of focused around the barware and audiovisual areas of their brand. We then built offers with them around those that worked for them financially and also worked for prospective customers, because this was both an upsell and a new business campaign, so we wanted to make sure that everyone was getting the best deal out of it. So then what we're going to do with these offers, that's when we decided that we were going to frame it around the summer of sport. So the Euros, Paris 2024, the Olympics. So all of the communications were, you need to be ready for this rush. And obviously the Euros came first, and that ended up being a massive success for the pub industry.
So the results were just phenomenal, considering it was organic as well.
Well, yeah, I mean, we only ended up doing organic social, organic email, and a little bit of direct through WhatsApp, through the sales team. On glass and ice, for example, we managed to secure a 176% increase on the same period last year, which was absolutely amazing. And then for all installs in general, it was 216% for the same period last year. And that was only a 2-month period that the campaign ran for. We even did extend it for an extra month, which was great. And that produced a little bit more extra results. So yeah, I think it's definitely something that we're going to carry forward with Essex Leisure.
And it just demonstrates the importance of working with internal sales teams. You know, we worked with Essex Leisure sales team a lot on this campaign. Oh
yeah, 100%. I think, you know, it's the sales versus marketing war that everyone talks about, but it works better when everyone's working together. Marketing should help sales, not sales should help marketing.
Yeah.
What comes first are the leads. Marketing is lead generation, sales team close the leads. So you should be listening to the sales team. You should be a little bit of pushback, because it's not always sell, sell, sell. And sometimes they don't understand that. But if you work with them, make a compromise, you know, certain things can be sales based. I think that's important. But yeah.
I agree. I think the collaboration there is key. Like, there should be no longer these silos of marketing and sales. They should literally work in tandem, because the results are tenfold, aren't they?
And I think if it was an internal team or an external marketing team, it works the same way. You know, your sales team would talk to your finance team, and they would have that conversation. Your marketing team should talk to your sales team, whether they're physically in the office or hybrid or whatever, working for the company, or if it's an agency.